Hello, it is Wednesday and I am so excited to be here today and talk about something that has been incredibly challenging for me. It is also a challenge for my clients and for, I would say, pretty much everyone that is experiencing fatigue. It is something that causes pain, and there are so many ways of looking at this. And what I'm talking about is the questions I'm going to talk about today, which are, why does it take so long to heal fatigue? Why isn't there a quick fix? Because honestly, it would be so nice if there was a quick fix, right? It would be so nice if we could just take a pill and everything would be solved. We could have our energy back, we could move on with our lives as if nothing ever happened. But there's a catch to that. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But first of all, I would like to talk about one of the reasons why we don't have a pill, why there is no medication today that cures fatigue. And by fatigue, I mean chronic fatigue, I mean post-COVID, I mean other kinds of burnout, and many other forms of fatigue. The kind of fatigue where you're so tired that whatever you do, you're still tired. And sometimes if you do too much, it gets even worse. And so for around 40 years, there has been research done on finding a biological reason for fatigue, a biological mechanism that is present in people that are experiencing fatigue, so that we can find a cure for it, a medicine, anything that the medical system can give you to cure fatigue. 40 years of research that still has shown no results. And that is very interesting, because that is many years of extensive research with no results. And so what can we take from that? Well, maybe there's that thought, hello Eva, so good to see you here. So what can we take from the fact that we have had 40 years of research with no results of biological treatment? Well, we can deduce that maybe that is not the answer, right? I mean, we are very complex beings. We are beings that have, of course, we have the whole biological body that in itself is extremely complex and I would say magical. Because when you look at all the different mechanisms that occur in our body that bring about health or illness, it is fascinating and magical. We have our whole body of feelings, emotions. We have our thinking, our rational mind. And we also have our faith. And that faith, whether it is that you believe in spiritual beings, whether it is if you believe in a God, whether your faith is faith in nature, or faith that there is no God or anything like that, it doesn't matter. We all have some form of faith. So that is the complexity of us all. And yet, on the other hand, there is something so universal and very simple that unites all of us. And that is the desire and need to be loved and the desire and need to be seen. And there I think we can start to find some of the answers to why it takes so long to heal fatigue. Because I believe that there can be many reasons for fatigue. There can be all kinds of different illnesses that contribute to that. There can be physical occurrences in the body. There can be trauma. And many of these things are things that have been present in our lives for a long time. And even though some people become sick with fatigue rather quickly, if you start looking at the history before that led up to that, I'm pretty sure that you will start seeing that there were signs before that led up to that it's not something that just happens from one day to the other. I know there's this theory that especially chronic fatigue is a consequence for some people of some kind of infection. For example, COVID. My theory is that there are other things behind that the infection is the catalyst, right? So if the infection is the catalyst, then treating the infection is not going to cure the fatigue. My belief is that we have to look at all the things that have led up to that. And whether that is doing deep spiritual internal work, deep inner work, trauma work, it is very individual. And there is no one set path for healing this. And this can feel pretty daunting, that there is no one specific answer, that we have to find our own answers to this healing journey. And on the other side, what if you were to look at this as the biggest adventure of your life? Like an enormous treasure hunt. Because I would argue that this is a form of treasure hunt. And like any treasure hunt, there are challenges. There are difficulties. There will be times where you will find a treasure and then all these other things will happen that you will stumble on and that will bring about all kinds of different challenges and pain and things that in some worlds are called like the dark night of the soul. And at the same time, there are treasures to be found in this. Because during this healing path, if you choose to do the deep work, if you choose to do, say, if there is trauma involved, that you do the trauma work, you will start to uncover parts of yourself that weren't there before. You will start to uncover and get rid of deep conditioning, old beliefs that you have about yourself and about the world. For instance, beliefs that you are unlovable, beliefs that you are unworthy. And imagine yourself with that belief that I'm unworthy. And then imagine yourself with the belief that I am worthy. Do you see the difference? And do you see that having that belief, I am worthy, is such a gift? It's such a treasure. And it's not that going from I am unworthy to I am worthy is one practice. It's one therapy session. It's one journey. It is an ongoing journey because there are many layers to that. And so to answer the question, why does it have to take so long? I want to reference to, for instance, rock stars that become super famous overnight. There are so many stories of rock stars that have that experience, that become famous from like nobody, going to nobody to like a super rock star, known by thousands, millions of people, listened by millions. There are so many stories of these people having deep, deep mental health issues. There are stories of these people ending their lives. Kurt Cobain, for instance. What's her name? I'm thinking about this woman in the 70s with this really raspy voice. I can't remember her name right now, but there are so many of them. And there is a parallel there, that if we heal too quickly, one, we miss out on many of the treasures that we find along the way. And another part of that is also that when we do the deep healing work, we need time to integrate that experience. And what do I mean by that? Let's say we uncover a layer of trauma. We uncover a belief that is not true about ourselves, and we release that. All of those things are things that we have carried physically in our body, in our whole energetic system. So releasing and healing that means a rearrangement of all of that, a rearrangement of the physical body, a rearrangement of the whole energetic blueprint of who you are. And that needs time to adjust. Because if you don't take that time to integrate, if you don't take that time to allow all of the parts of you to adjust to that, and you just put on a layer, more and more layers of the healing, of the uncovering on top of each other, the body will not be able to take care of all of that. And what happens with the body when you do that? It will contract. It will say, this is too much. This is too overwhelming. I will pull back. I will disconnect. And that is one of the things that we are trying to do in the healing work. In the healing work that I do with my clients, is to create more connection with the part of you that has been disconnected. A deeper connection with the self, a deeper connection with who you truly are, a deeper connection with the magic that is you, all the gifts, all the treasures that are part of who you are. And so that takes time. And that doesn't necessarily have to be something negative. Because what happens along that journey is that all of a sudden you are rearranging who you are, who you show up as in your life. You all of a sudden show up with different beliefs, with different ways of relating to yourself and to the world around you. And that takes time. So I don't know if you've ever been on a long journey that was very intensive for you. For instance, when I was in my, I think I was in my 30s, I went to India for 3 months, and that experience was mind-blowing for me. And when I came back home, that was quite challenging because everyone else had, gotten along with their lives and nothing had changed for them. And here I am with all of these insights, with all of these experiences. And I'm like, but don't you see, don't you understand? So much has changed. And it took a while for me to integrate that, to be able to relate to my old friends, to my old job, to my old life from that new place where I was at after those 3 months in India. And let's see, I'm gonna look at my notes to see if there's something else that I wanted to say. Yeah. So Another aspect of this is if you consider the impact that the fatigue has on your life right now. For most of us that are experiencing severe fatigue, like chronic fatigue, like post-COVID, like really bad burnout, it has a huge impact on everything in life, right? It impacts the relationship to yourself. It impacts the relationship to your partner if you have a partner. It impacts the relationship to your children if you have children. It impacts the relationship with your friends, with your relatives, with your physical body, with your mental state, with your emotions. It impacts everything. And so imagine if you were to change that like that. In the 80s, early 90s, in the New Age movement, there was this idea that we had to push forth healing, that we had to do a lot of really deep work really fast to get rid of all this shit. What happened was that people ended up having psychosis. And that is serious. That is like the really, like the worst case scenario. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen to you, but that is just referencing to that gives you an idea about the importance of giving yourself time to integrate, giving yourself time to get to know who you are, who you're becoming along the way. Because I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago, before I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue. I am not the same person I was 5 years ago. I have similar visions. I have similar traits. I have similar ideas of what is important in my life. But so many of those things have changed. And part of that change is also changing the neurobiology of our physical body, changing how the brain works, changing the neural connections in our brain, changing how we view the world. And that takes time. One of the most important things that I have learned about the healing journey is something that I've learned from my beloved teacher and trauma therapist, Marina Nabau. And that is that slow is quicker. And that might seem crazy, right? How can slower be quicker? But the thing is that when we slow down and we become really present with ourselves, that is where the deep healing happens. That is where the deep healing that lasts happens. And there are modalities that are sort of like a quick fix. I've tried them. And they work in the short run. But when I stopped doing them, the symptoms came back. The fatigue came back. And to me, it is way more important to do the long, deep journey to have lasting effect than to have a quick fix that lasts for a short time, and then I go back, and then I have to do the quick fix again, and then I go back, and then I have to do the quick fix again, and then I go back. That's, in the long run, to me, exhausting. And you leave out so much from that journey. You leave out finding those treasures, finding that peace in you that is getting to know, for instance, your inner child and the beauty that is your inner child, the magic that she brings to your world. I'm going to let that sink in for a moment, and I'm going to check my notes again. yeah, I think that's it for today. I'm going to leave you with a notion that what you're doing is you're changing the blueprint for your life on this healing journey. And that is no small feat. That is huge. And I am absolutely convinced that when you do this, you contribute to a better world. You contribute to a more loving, compassionate world where we are freer, because that is also part of this journey. That is also part of this healing, that you free yourself from limiting beliefs, free yourself from conditioning from the outside. So if this is something that you feel called to do, that you feel like, oh, yes, I really, really want to create this change in my life, I invite you to take a look at my one-on-one coaching program, Blissful Living. You can go ahead and find all the details and the link in my bio on my website. And if you have any questions, send me a DM or an email. I would love to hear from you. And I would love to hear your feedback and your thoughts about this. Okay, loves. Let's finish with 3 integrating breaths. Breathing in deep through your nose. And breathing out maybe with a sigh. And breathing in through your nose. And breathing out, allowing all of this to settle into your system. One last time, breathing in. Allowing these breaths to integrate what needs to be integrated, to awaken what needs to be awakened in you. And I don't know if you're hearing that. Those are the planes, the big, huge planes flying around outside. And maybe that is the cue that this is it for today. Sending you so much love.